Welcome to episode 10 of the In Between Podcast. We're excited to visit this week with our friend Chrissy Godwin. Chrissy and her husband Bob are missionaries in Estonia. They've been in ministry for many, many years, serving on the mission field for most of that time. And Chrissy is so full of wisdom and insight, and you will love this conversation that we have with her. So sit back and enjoy the In Between. Well, hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the In Between. We are really excited to introduce you to our friend Chrissy Godwin. And Chrissy, you're gonna learn all about her today. She is a missionary currently in the nation of Estonia. Lived in Mongolia for a lot of years, and before that was a good old kind of Texas girl. So, Chrissy, we're really glad to have you today.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be with you girls.
Oh.
Yeah, well, we're going to start off, go right into it like we do all of our episodes. I cannot wait to hear what you are into, Chrissy. So tell us what you're into right now.
Oh, what I'm into. Now, what I'm into right now is actually reading from actual real paper books. You know, I had kind of gotten away from that with the whole Kindle thing, and probably for 5 years, I just had kind of moved away and done all my reading electronically. Even my devotionals and things like that I was doing, because you could, so quickly move between different translations and all that kind of stuff that, does that. But it was crazy. I had a bowling injury last February.
Oh.
I know. How? It's kind of a shameful thing. I got a concussion from it. And
oh my goodness.
It was a real bowling injury. I'm talking
about. Or I need to know what happened, Chrissy.
It's this. You should never cross the line. And I live crossing the line. That's just me. And I crossed the line and I went down like a ton of bricks. And,
no.
So I had this legit, bowling injury. And so I really couldn't do screens for probably 2 months. Just the screen, the brightness of the lights and all that. And so I went back to my paper Bible, which it really, I couldn't get enough. It was just like, wow, I love this paper in your hands, and you can flip through it easier. And it ruined me. And so now even other books, I'm going back to paper. That's what I'm doing. So I'm into it. I'm into real heavy paper books.
Yeah, I'm with you. I love to underline and highlight. And my husband kind of makes fun of me. He's like, you're like back in high school. Are you actually going to go back and read your little notes? But I do. I love to go and I don't know. I'd love to, have a real book. I actually bought a Kindle one time and never used it. I wound up selling it because, I'm with you. I love the paper, the actual tangible thing. So for me, I am really into succulents, the succulent plants. So I brought some examples. So
okay.
this is like I put this together this week. It's a little cactus. Now here's why I like these, because you really cannot kill them.
Well, that's exactly what I thought.
They require very little water, very little maintenance. So this is probably my favorite. I've kind of gone succulent crazy in my house because it's crazy and it just grows all these fun ways. But anyway, so I'm like super into these. I went to Walmart, of all places. They sell succulents for like super cheap, and bought all the little succulents, the little pots for like $1, and just, made some little succulent potted plants. So get you a succulent. Can't kill that.
Okay.
Awesome.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, I knew we were talking to Chrissy, and she's a missionary, so I'm kind of in this like missions mindset with my into it. But I just discovered this group, and I'll put their website on our show notes. And it's really cool. It's a place where if you are a creative, if you're a photographer or a videographer or a good writer or a website designer, there's a new nonprofit where you can just donate your services for missionaries around the world. And they will send different creatives to different missionaries to help them with all of the media aspects Isn't that so great? Because, I mean, you know, the way that the world is now, you got to get the word out, and you need good pictures, you need good websites. And I know a lot of missionaries that I work with, that's just not in their wheelhouse. Mm-hmm. And so what I love is you're helping missionaries, but then I know a lot of like millennials and young people that are like, I have all these gifts and I want to use them. And so anyway, so I just found this group, and I just loved how they kind of like are merging those two together. And I was just talking to a friend of mine who's a photographer, and she's kind of jumping on that bandwagon and getting a collective of photographers in the Lubbock area to go on like 5 of our trips solely with that purpose, is just to take pictures to leave with the missionaries so they can then use it for promotional material. So I'm really into people thinking outside the box, and I really love that organization. So,
well,
yeah.
I want to be into that organization too.
Okay, I'll give you their information. I know everyone I've talked about, they're like, I want them to come help. Yeah, and they really will. Like, you put in a proposal of what you need, if it's a website, if it's photography, and then they start meeting with you, and you meet the people, and they do it for you for free.
Wow.
Isn't that cool?
That is cool.
Yeah. So, okay, so that's what we're into. What did you say?
It takes all kinds of gifts, you know, and things that you need someone that really has that gift to be able to make it work. So
right. I know. It's so good. So now that we have got into it, so we got to talk about what we are over. Leslie, I'm gonna let you go first. What are you over right now?
This is like really hard for me. I'm having a hard time coming up with an over it, which I guess is a good thing. I'm kind of like appreciating all the things in my life. I would say probably the biggest thing is I'm a little over all the alone time that I have. My introverted cup is completely full, and it's time to like socialize, which when you're new to a place and you're still meeting people, that's kind of hard to do. So I'm working on that. I'm determined to like get out of the house in the next day or two, because I feel like I've been a little cooped up. My husband's been traveling a lot, and the girls are at school. So I'm just like, it's me and the dogs, and the dogs are wearing me out. So maybe that's what I'm over. I'm over all the alone time with my dogs. So I'm ready to get out of the house and do some socializing. But so that's what I'm over. Yeah. You know, introverts get a bad rap sometimes, that we always want to be by ourselves, but we need the people time too. So I'm working on that.
Yeah, that's good. Well, hopefully you're going to make more friends, and you're going to get that.
I just need to like initiate. I've made some really great friends here. I'm just not good about like picking up the phone or texting, hey, do you want to go have lunch? I'm like, I don't know. I've never been good at that, but I'm stretching myself. So I'm gonna work on that.
Good. Okay. Chrissy, what about you? What are you over right now?
Well, this is what I'm over is this. I am over shaving. I am just done with it. I'm thinking women should have a no shave November kind of too.
I like it.
But the whole thought of it, really, I don't know if it really works for a woman, but I'm willing to try. But I think in pictures, and the mental picture at the end of the month of me having this nice bearded leg, I don't know if it really works in a dress or not. But yeah, that could be kind of scary. I don't know. But I was just thinking, you know, I'm ready to be over shaving. I wish I didn't have to do that. So there you go.
Yeah. So when you lived in Mongolia, what were the shaving? Was it culturally, did women shave there?
You know what? It's different. They look at that very differently. And no, shaving wasn't the same. Except for I had one friend, and she actually shaved the tops of her arms because she didn't like the hair on her arms. Which, I mean, that was because, you know, I don't know. I've got blonde hair on my arms, so I don't have that problem. But she had no the idea of it. So, you know, I can't imagine that. But yeah, they look at it totally differently. And so, but it's just not accepted here and I'm pretty sure that, I mean, my mental picture is like the woolly mammoth, you know what I'm saying? And I'm thinking, no, it probably wouldn't be that bad just 1 month, but who knows? But I'm just tired of it.
I mean,
Set up
why? I agree. I'm tired of it too. So, well, if you decide to go that way, let us know how it goes. And, but you're right. I don't know.
I don't know.
So when I'm over, I was having a hard time deciding what I was over, but this is like not just over it. This is just a personal thing. I have a lot of allergies, and I'm highly allergic if I get in a room with women, especially with strong perfume. And so sometimes I don't think ladies know just how much they're dousing themselves. And I just had an experience this week where I just walked in a room and I just couldn't even like carry on a conversation. So I just feel like, you know, if you were a lover of perfume, like maybe just like do like a spray less a day, and that could help people all over that you don't even know about. So yeah, it could. So
Good. I want to get right into Chrissy's story about how you and your husband, how you got, well, and really your family, I think when you started, just kind of share your journey of how you guys became missionaries, maybe how that all came about, how you got started, because you guys have been on the mission field for, I don't even know how many years, I'm sure you'll tell us, but a long time. So I would love to hear just kind of how that all played out.
Okay. Yeah, I'd love to tell you our story. We were, God speaks to each person, and that's the wonderful part for us. I know for me, God spoke to my heart probably 6 years before he spoke to Bob that we would be involved in missions. And I just kind of hid that away in my heart because I did not want to be the one to call him to missions, because, you get in any situation, there's going to be tough days, and you don't want that to come back on you. It needs to go back on God. I just kind of hid that away in my own heart. And God did speak to him. And, we thought right away, this is a vision. It's a heart, he's spoken to both of us. Let's do this right away. And that really wasn't God's plan. It really was right away was that he moved us into a pastorate, which we weren't seeking and wouldn't have desired to do. Bob was very comfortable in his role as a support pastor and being able to do those things, and didn't feel the need to be a lead, and he, very comfortable in being a support to others. But God he knew what we needed invested and built within our lives. And, we went into that thinking we were helping them. And it was years later, I realized, no, we were on the accelerated growth path, and they were helping us. And sometimes it works out that way. You don't realize from perspective, really what all is going on, what God's really at work doing. And so we pastored for 5 years, and then God brought that dream back again of going into missions. And he did that in an unusual way for us. He doesn't normally lead through dreams, but this particular time he did. One night, Bob had the same dream 3 times. And so we knew that was significant. And then he began to reconfirm that again and again and again. And we had no idea really where we would go. All we knew was the area of the world in the dream. So we began to pursue through the Assemblies of God, which is our affiliation. We're both ministers with the Assemblies of God. So we began to talk with them, and we found ourselves in the Asia Pacific office. And the place that we thought that God wanted us to go, they weren't sending missionaries to at that time. Because of the situation in the national church at that point there. And they ask us, what do you feel like God's put in your heart to do? And it's, for us, the dream is leadership development, church planting, and evangelism. And they said, well, we have 3 places that we can do that. And that was at that time in 1994. It was Cambodia was opening up, Vietnam was opening up, and then this other place, and he described it like this, and then there's Mongolia. It's like the Wild West. We had no idea really where Mongolia was. We turned around and there was a map on the wall behind us to look to see where it was. And when we looked at that, it was like it exploded in our heart. It was like, yes, wow, that is the place we're to be. And never had a doubt. And even at one point, we ran across, because the way our mission sending is that we're sent by churches. And so you visit a lot of churches and they choose to support you and send you. And so you get the benefit of meeting lots of people and partnering with lots of churches. And at one church, a guest walked in. He was an old man, probably in his mid-80s, he and his wife, and they had moved to Texas from Washington State. And this was his first time there that day. And he knew that God had directed. He woke up and God said, that church that you saw in the phone book, I want you to go to it. So he went out, his car was broken. He had to fix the car. He got lost, couldn't find this little church. It was a storefront church, a new one. Stopped at a 7-Eleven and asked a guy coming out the door if he knew where this church was. And the guy said, yeah, I'm the children's pastor, follow me. I mean, it was like God. Wow. When he got there, he realized why he was there. And that was because he had been praying for our family for 2 years, that we would answer the call to go to Mongolia. That, when I looked back at it, I couldn't quite grasp it. 2 years, we didn't really know, just trying to get the timeline. When I looked back at it, that 2-year mark was exactly at the time when Bob was having the dream. And he was praying that we would answer the call to go, that we would have that courage. And I thought, man, isn't that the body of Christ? God brings all those pieces together and the encouragement that comes. So we went and we got to Mongolia in 1996 is when we landed on the ground there with our 3 little kids. One was 13, 9, and 11 at that time.
Wow. And how many years were y'all in Mongolia?
We were there 18 and a half years.
Wow. Yeah. So what was it like raising kiddos in the Wild West?
In the Wild West. You know what? It was a treasure to raise kids there. And the reason I would say that is that it wasn't necessarily easy. Yeah. Trying to prepare food and find food that wasn't, already on the verge of being spoiled, and having enough electricity to get it cooked, and all those kinds of issues, the water on and off and things like that. But what I found was this. In our American culture, we would get up in the morning and we run from our home. And we're busy with activities. Everyone has activities. Every person has their own activities. And you manage that, and then you come back into the home late at night and you just, and you try to catch it, sleep enough to do it all over again the next day. And what we found in Mongolia was that they were very interdependent people, very relational, not task-driven. We tend to be here.
Yeah.
And so to be able to have that where activity wasn't completely outside of our home, a lot of activity was from within our home. And that we couldn't really, honestly, I couldn't shop by myself. I couldn't prepare the food. Everybody had to pitch in and to make it work. And then what the result of that was that we became very, very close as a family, because we were very dependent on each other, just for daily life and then in ministry. At one point, someone asked our oldest daughter, what is a missionary kid? And her response is you're a missionary kid when you realize you are your dad's staff.
Yes.
Some pastors' kids are like that too.
Yeah.
But so it was a joy to be able to learn to live. But and they found parts of the culture that they appreciated and they liked. I remember our oldest daughter, she was 13, and she said, I guess we were about 6 months there, something like that. She said, I just love being here because they're more aggressive kind of people. You can push them, and you're getting pushed, and you can push back, and that's not rude. And so, yeah, she said, man, we can just push people, and we can, yeah,
yeah.
That's it.
So,
we conquered the world.
So now you guys have moved to Estonia, which is totally different from Mongolia. And I'd love to hear about that. But what I really want to ask you is, what is the Lord teaching you personally in this? Our whole podcast is called The In-Between, because we kind of believe God's always moving us and shifting us, and you never arrive necessarily. So what's God teaching you right now as you're making this major transition?
Wow. You know what? What God really has been teaching me, there's two parts to it. One is how to really hear his voice and depend upon him, that he really is there for me. And Leslie, hearing you talk about what you're over, that's been my life a year and a half in Estonia, moving to a place where you don't know anyone. And how do you begin to make friends, find your place in community? Who is it that God has for you to really connect to? Because we all need that, and he has that for us. But how do you do that? How do you find those people? And what I found was there were days that I would wake up and he would say, this is what I want you to, and I would go, and just those quiet leadings, it's almost a nuance. This is, and God would have divine appointments, and I would meet people that I'm still in friendship with today, that I've met at the most random of places, but yet God had the divine appointment for me there. And other days where I would go, man, I'm just lonely. I just wish there was somebody to go to lunch with. And Jesus was like, okay, I'm here. Go to lunch with me. So me and Jesus went to McDonald's, I mean, not because I'm honestly, I had no others, and so I'd be, that intimacy, that he is there that much, that he is speaking to us, that it's not just a voice in our head, but he really is there, and he has a place of purpose for us, and that there is a supernatural element of our life if we will just lay aside our own thoughts and ideas. And that kind of leads me to the next thing, really, where what God's put in my heart probably the last 6 months, 8 months, something like that. I've been just studying over the life of Jacob. Okay, the life of Jacob. And it kind of culminates in chapter 48 of Genesis, and where Jacob has the cross-arm blessing. And you probably know that Joseph comes with his sons, and then Jacob's going to bless them, and he does this cross-arm. Joseph positions them right before him. In the, his right hand should be on the oldest, and the left hand. Jacob's all blind by now. He's old and can't see. So Joseph's going to help him to, put the kids right where they should be, so that he can bless them right. And Jacob cross-arm blessing. And in that, there's a ton in that. Like I said, I've been just studying through all this for probably 6 or 8 months. But in a nutshell, that one act of faith right there, when Jacob blesses them, it is what he's called out for in Hebrews 11. That his act of faith, that was his last act of faith. He's right about to die, and he does his greatest act of faith. And I'm thinking, man, God, I don't know why you've called us to Estonia at this point in time to learn another language. Good grief, I can hardly speak English. I speak Texan really good, but English is kind of touchy, and, now to learn another language, can I do that? This is really young people that do that, but yet God's going, no, because there's still another act of faith. Our greatest acts of faith are yet to come. And it's because it's not dependent on us. It's on God. It's on him. And it's not like, okay, I'm looking at an epic fail. No, you're looking at an epic success, because our greatest acts are ahead of us.
Wow. Awesome. I love what you said about in your story becoming missionaries. I think what struck me instantly was, God put a dream or a vision in your heart, and then he led you to something else, and of course, I know God is good and he works all things together for good, but, I believe that 5 years of pastoring was to prepare you in some way for what you needed in Mongolia and Estonia and the rest of your journey. And then you said that man came to the church and he'd been praying for you for 2 years. And around 2 years was when Bob had the dream, and it was still 2 years. There's a waiting season that I think sometimes, I know I'm guilty of this. God puts a dream or a vision in my heart, and I just want instant results.
Yeah.
But it's in that waiting that we submit to the process, and we say, God, what are you teaching me in this season that's maybe gonna apply to that vision, to the fulfillment of the calling? And so I love that God's going to bring partners along your path to help fulfill that. God's going to bring, teach you things. And I think this whole idea of being in between, I think we all have purpose and calling in our lives, and we're not seeing that come to fruition yet. And so it's like, okay, God, how does this play a part in that ultimate calling? I heard this thing about, David was gifted to be a songwriter, but he wasn't called to be a songwriter. He was called to deliver a nation, And so it's like all these things, but that intimate time in the field with God was preparing his heart for what his calling truly was. Daniel was in captivity and groomed and trained for 3 years before he was ever even went before the king. So there's these waiting periods that we go through. And even once you're on the mission field, there's still a training and a waiting for the next thing and the next thing and those greatest acts of faith. I just love that. I think that's so awesome.
You think about your kids, we are thankful that we don't get pregnant and have a baby in a month.
Right. Yes.
Can you imagine if we were like rabbits? Oh my gosh. That thought, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But we're not like elephants either, where it's like 2 or 2.5 year gestation period, you know what I'm saying? But that elephant comes out a lot bigger.
Right.
And I really do think that some of that, when God puts that dream in our heart, the longer it takes for it to fill is because it's a big dream. It takes that time for that, to the birthing, for all of that to grow and to be mature enough to be able to live outside of the dream in the heart.
Yeah, absolutely. So now that you guys are in Estonia and you have, different teams come, because I think Paige is a missions pastor. They send teams kind of all over the world. If you could give one bit of advice to teams that are coming to serve missionaries or organizations.
Know it all Americans, basically.
Oh, nice.
What would your number one bit of advice be to those that think they're going to come over and change your country in a week or two?
You know what? Honestly, I do believe that we do change in a week or two. There are things that we can do that impact, but it's not what we do. It is what we do, but it's not what we do, if you get that part.
Yeah.
I know that we have worked with those, and the key difference is, are we coming to serve? And so are we coming to do what we do really well, what we can do better than maybe some other people, or are we coming to serve? And the heart to serve, it trumps every time. It trumps every time. And if we will come prepared to serve, whatever that looks like, whatever that means, serve that culture, embrace that culture, then it's going to be a win. It will make an impact for a lifetime upon yourself and upon the other nation. If you can come looking to build up others, not what you do, but if you can get that mindset where I'm going to empower others, I'm going to lift others up beyond where I am at, I'm going to bless, I am going to do these things. I will be the least and let them be the champions. Let me champion them. We never lose. God's grows.
That's good. I think we could probably apply that to all of life. If I would wake up every day and my goal was to serve and champion others and lift up others, it'd be amazing how much our days would look totally different. So that's really good. I have a final question for you because you're in the States right now on furlough. So furlough, I know, is not always easy, but what is your favorite thing about furlough? What do you like about coming back to the States?
What I like is actually being able to have the time to reconnect with people, with your family and friends, and making new friends, connecting with people. That's my favorite part. If they weren't so spread out, it'd probably make it a little easier.
Right.
but that's the part that, you know what, is amazing to me. I never cease to be amazed at, because God makes us such relational people. You can be separated for 4 years at a time, 5 years. It can be 8 years before you see people again. But it's like when you sit down, because of relationship, your hearts immediately go back to that place because we stand in right relationship. Now, if we break those relationships and there's still brokenness, there's pain, there's hurt, whatever. But if those relationships are intact, man, it's amazing to me how you can still feel close to people. You show up even though you haven't been together, you haven't even talked, you haven't even had a note in 8 years. But when you sit down, there's sweet fellowship, and that's the wonderful part. And being able to see how broad the body of Christ is. We get the benefit of being in lots of different kinds of churches, and it's because there's lots of different kinds of people.
Right.
You see how broad God is. He is not in a box. He works in so many different ways, and it's good. It's all good. And it's going to be what heaven's like. Yeah.
That's good. Well, I hope you enjoy the rest of your furlough. I hope you get a little bit of rest and get to sleep in a consistent bed at some point.
That's true.
Yes. And we just want to say thank you, Chrissy, for coming on the show. We are excited about what God's going to do in Estonia. Everybody, if you want to know more about Chrissy and her husband, Bob, and their ministry in Estonia, we're going to have links to connect with you so people can get to know you a little bit more, and maybe they could join your prayer team or something like that. So,
awesome.
Okay. Well, with that, we just say thanks for watching another episode of The In Between, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks so much for joining us for this week's episode with Chrissy Godwin. We really enjoyed chatting with her and hearing about the ministry that she and her husband are doing in Estonia. They really are making an impact and changing lives. Don't forget that you can connect with The In Between on Facebook and Instagram. You can always check out our website, theinbetween.com, and stay up to date with all the things that we have going on. We really do love hearing from you guys. So have a great, happy, blessed week, and we'll see you next time.